Happy daylight savings. All right, now that we've kind of gone over the whole brewing process, we're gonna go into, I guess, some of our stories here, right?
We got a problem.
I'm on it.
Zach's
I'm on
on
it.
the situation. On to the next one. Who the hell is Nathan Hale?
Crack these open. Nathan Hale. Dude, that smells so good. Oh, dude, I love this beer.
Okay, yeah, for starters,
Absolutely one of my favorites.
the coffee aroma is incredible.
Yes.
But that is like a pot of coffee aroma.
Oh, yeah, dude. Woo!
I'm bamboozled.
Even the brewmaster's bamboozled. Again, off of their website, this is the Nathan Hale, the version of the Golden Stout. And it is a commemoration to America's most notable spy, Nathan Hale.
Old Nady.
So this is a revolutionary stout brewed with oats, rich coffee, and Liberty hops.
Freedom, baby.
Is that an actual hop?
Liberty, that's the real deal.
Its full-bodied mouthfeel will throw notes of chocolate, roast, and coffee.
Doesn't make any sense.
The coffee for sure. So, where were we? We're talking about stories now. This is stories relating to beer, everything about beer. We're going to start out a little bit just with Steve.
So the first thing that I ever turned to alcohol is I went to...
Oh, no.
Oh, this is good. I went to Kroger and got... I found out it didn't have to have... I think it's sulfates, because sulfates are preservative, and when you're fermenting stuff, you're kind of spoiling it. Like you're letting it go bad. So I found an apple juice with no preservatives. I got a sleeve of baking yeast from the baking aisle, and maybe some sugar at the time. So I go to this dorm, and I got this glass bottle, and so I pour some sugar in there. I knew to add that. I put in this dry powdered baking yeast. I have no idea what's about to happen. I like, this could be a mishap, whatever. Let's just try it. So I put it under my bed. I pack it behind all my stuff. And then I check the next day, and not much has happened. I'm like, this is kind of disappointing. But I've looked up, it takes a little bit. By day 3, I see bubbles. Like this thing, if you've ever seen beer, it's kind of... You can't see it, but you can see my beer. You pour a beer, there's little bubbles. That's kind of what fermentation's like, and it gets more aggressive. And I was like, oh my gosh, something is happening inside of here. And I go to what they call bleed off. So at the time I didn't have fancy tools that I do now. And I open this glass bottle, and I just go to open it, and it just goes like you're opening a can of soda or something. No. And I was like, something's happening. And so I'd go into there twice a day and bleed off the air because I was worried about it exploding, which is, I've later learned, is a very real thing that could happen. So I'd go in there and bleed the air off a couple times a day, then it stopped. And then I would put it in my mini fridge. Maybe me and my roommate at the time were sitting in our dorm, drinking this apple. And I knew, it didn't taste like apple juice. I knew that much. And
a little more alcoholic.
Yeah. And then after a couple hours, I was like, I am absolutely I was feeling the effects of alcohol, and from that moment on I was I was beyond myself. Feeling it now, Mr. Krabs. Beer week.
Yeah.
52 weeks in a year, and this one triumphs over all of them. So this is the story of essentially my parents finding out that, probably both acknowledging publicly that I drink alcohol, but also that I'm making beer. I was probably 20 at the time, so I was getting caught up to 21. I was getting close to the legal limit. So I go home with this knowledge of what I can do. I'm home for the summer. My parents are both 9 to 5 in it, so I'm home like enjoying summer. Like, I'm gonna make some beer. I'm gonna kind of do a bootleg. Like, no one has to know about this. I've acquired a little bit more equipment at the time. Find out there's a brew store in Akron, Ohio. I made a raspberry wheat ale. So I go to the brew store. It was cool. I was like underage buying ingredients. Anyone can go buy grains. Like, it's nothing illegal about it. It's kind of fun asking the guy. Get home, my parents are at work. They've got a pot. I'm brewing, doing all the stuff. Well, I have about 3 pounds of these, what they call spent grains you use to make the sugar water. Now what I do with them, like, I throw them in the trash. They're going to be like, oh, what is this? I'm like, well, I just put them down the garbage disposal. Get rid of the evidence. About 3 pounds of these wet grains into the garbage disposal. Like, I just get rid of it, shove it down there, turn the sink on, turn the garbage disposal. It goes, goo, goo, goo. It just stops. And I could tell the motor's stuck. And I was like, oh my God. And this is me getting rid of my evidence. Like, I was going to hide it in the basement. You know, no one had to know. Now I've like essentially broken the garbage disposal. There's a sink full of these disgusting looking wet grains that I'd have to explain what they are. Like, I couldn't, you know.
Start shoveling them out and take out the trash.
Yeah, so I was shoveling them out, and then I was on YouTube looking up how to like open garbage disposals. I ended up taking the garbage disposal apart. I was looking up how much garbage disposals cost on Home Depot because I thought that I could probably install one before they got I was plunging for probably an hour. Like, I would plunge and then scoop everything out and then plunge and finally like boot it back on. And after all that, I think my dad or my mom went downstairs and they were like, what's this jug in the basement? So after all that, I thought I had it hidden. It was just sitting back there. They went to look for something. At the time, that was my recording studio. Was like in the basement. That was like my space, and they ended up finding it. I got away with it. I fixed the garbage disposal. I fixed it, but they still found the jug. And I explained to him.
You had one job.
My dad thought it was hilarious. My mom was just like, whatever. I was so stressed. I was just plunged. I was so stressed out. But that was. Yeah, they found out anyway, and then it was out in the open, and then they asked me a million questions, and I actually got to share my, passion with them instead of hiding.
Well, that's cool.
So, yeah, it ended up being
okay. That turned out really well.
They were just like, you what? Like, it was just the disbelief that I had shared. I was like, no, here's what you do, and they were like, okay. Shout out to my parents, especially my dad. They've given me a lot of brew equipment for Christmas. That was on my list. Almost still to this day, almost every year is like some piece of brewing equipment. So the brewery is contribution of the parents.
So if they never would have found out, maybe this never would have been a thing.
I still could be a closet brewer, but
it happens for a reason.
I got caught, so it's all right.
Closet brewer. So I think this is our last story that you have: failed brews, failed beers.
Luckily, there's only been 2.
There was this one, I think it was my idea, and it was a bad idea. Or I don't know how I talked you into it. I was just like, oh, this would be a great idea.
It was peppermint. That's what peppermint mocha coffee stout. That's what it was.
Peppermint mocha coffee stout. Dude.
And we were just thinking, like, people at the peppermint mocha and the coffee and the chai. Like, I mean, to me, to this day, it actually sounds kind of good. If you could nail it out, like, that sounds like it would be a very desserty type beer,
absolutely.
But maybe something I'd only drink a little bit of, but like almost like a liqueur in a way, but.
Well, anyways, I think I had put it into his ear that we were going to do this, and it turned out to not be a great idea. It was a mistake and a half, and
brown Listerine.
It was disgusting. I don't think I even tried a sip.
I don't think I let you.
But that was one failed beer.
That's the only beer I ever dumped.
White girl wasted on some peppermint mocha.
Hey, man.
Think again.
It was an experiment type beer. And another beer I did that with was a grapefruit beer. You know that bitterness from grapefruit?
Yeah.
That's all that was left. It wasn't the flavor. It wasn't the sweetness. It wasn't the citrus. It was just that like...
Just bitter.
Nasty. And it was... people drank it.
What, did you have a party or something?
Yeah, oh yeah. So like it got consumed and I was fine with that, but like I didn't dump it, but it was I was just so but again, I experiment, you expect that. Like it's fun to go out on a limb and be like, I'm gonna try something weird.
Right.
And it doesn't work out, you're like, this is what I asked for.
Right.
So every time I have a fail, I go for a safe. And one of my favorite safes, Sweetwater IPA clone.
You want to tell about the snail just real quick? I'm curious about this now. I don't remember this, but
The escargot beer. Yeah, it was just a brew day outside the house, and we were in the driveway. It was in the boil, so it's like the second part is when you're viciously boiling everything. So there's a lot of foam, you don't see a lot. And I go to stir and I see something, and like somehow, oh, this is so gross. A snail got into the boil kettle, and I scoop it out.
No.
I couldn't believe it, but it was boiling. It had boiled for like another 40 minutes at that point.
God.
And maybe I'm now telling you after you drank it.
Oh, that's great.
Might have been the citrus, the wheat citrus one.
I thought something tasted off about it.
Dude, escargot is high end, man.
I thought it tasted like snail.
That's high end stuff. So I like to refer to it as escargot and not snail because I think that gets it.
That's what you need to start doing is putting salt around the rim of your brew pot.
Whatever, it was disgusting, but I probably could have eaten it if I wanted to. But yeah,
why would you?
It's cooked. It was well done. It's gross.
All right, y'all. Thanks for tuning in to Beer Week Part 2. Stay tuned for Beer Week Part 3 next week, where we get into trivia and the history of beer. So, yeah, hope you guys survive daylight savings time. And cheers. See you next week.